What's going on, everybody? Welcome into our Packers post-game show here on the Pack-A-Day podcast. I'm your host, Andy Herman. You can follow me on Twitter at Andy Herman NFL. Today's post-game show is presented to you by Luige's Pizza. And if you have not checked out your Luige's Pizza yet, it is time to do so and get your Luige's Victory Pizza today. A huge thank you to Luige's for sponsoring us and being the presenting sponsor for all of our post-game shows all year long. Again, find them at luigespizza.com, Luigespizza. And of course, follow them on social media at Luige's Pizza as well. It is a great time for a Luige's Victory Pizza. Also, before we get into kind of all the key takeaways from today's game, let's go over our Habish Rotier injury report. It's not exactly an injury report, but it's interesting to kind of see the players that did not play in today's game. That's always kind of one of the first takeaways before we actually get into the actual results. Obviously, huge win for the Packers today, which is nice. Huge is, whatever. But Christian Watson, Jordan Love, Jaden Reed, Dontavian Wicks, Nate Hobbs, Xavier McKinney, Marshawn Lloyd, Zane Anderson, Omar Brown, Colin Oliver, Jared Bartlett, Jacob Monk, Aaron Banks, John Williams, Elton Jenkins, Savion Williams, Devontae Wyatt, Kenny Clark, and Barron Sorrell all did not play in this particular game. There's two names that stand out here to me. Devontae Wyatt and Elton Jenkins, both of them did not finish practice at joint practices for against Seattle, I should say. So a little bit intriguing there to see if there's anything going on. We don't know. Hopefully it's nothing. Hopefully they're able to get back next week as we start getting ready for Packers Lions. But the two, names that I'm a little bit more interested in following today's practice or game, Devontae Wyatt and then Elton Jenkins, because they didn't finish against the practice against Seattle. Of course, check out Habish Rotier over at habish.com. If you need a personal injury attorney, I cannot recommend them enough. They do a great job partnering with us. I cannot speak highly enough of the character and individuals that they are. They're so unbelievable to work with. And if you need to talk to a person, you get to talk to somebody directly. You can call them 800-2HABISH or go to habish.com. Appreciate both Habish and Luige's Pizza for partnering with us here at the Pack-A-Day podcast. As far as takeaways from this game, I think there's a variety of them. The first and foremost thing is that I thought this was a much cleaner performance for Green Bay all the way around. We didn't see the mistakes. We saw some as we got to the middle and later portions of the game. But one of the things I talked about in the pregame show today was just, hey, I don't care if when we get to the third and fourth quarter, if some of the, third, fourth string guys or even a second string guy has some mistakes here and there. That's bound to happen. That's just preseason football. But I wanted to see the operation just be a little bit better early on. Seattle looked today like the team that was disjointed, not ready to play, not entirely focused. And I thought Green Bay had their best outing overall and was just much more focused going into this game. Love Malik Willis being able to create some plays. Matthew Golden, again, we're just starting to really get some glimpses of the player that he's going to be as not only a future NFL player, but a rookie here and now in his first season in the NFL. He's a unbelievably talented individual. And I think you saw again today just what he is capable of at any given moment. That play down the sideline was a phenomenal catch by him and certainly something that he's going to continue to build on moving forward. I thought there were some players that really helped themselves in today's game. I thought Kamal Haddon was one of those players who definitely helped themselves, and Kalen King. Right now, if I'm thinking of it off the top of my head, and again, haven't gone through and rewatched this in any way, shape, or form, but I thought Kalen King and Kamal Haddon probably up for those final two corner spots. I thought Micah Robinson and Corey Ballantyne did not help themselves. Malik Heath had the nice reception, but also had two special teams tackles on the punt team. That's going to help him immensely, whereas McCole Hardman wasn't really able to do a whole heck of a lot. If you do keep six wide receivers, it does look like Malik Heath right now, who's been ahead of Hardman all off season long and kind of ends that way as well. I didn't see anything from anyone else that would get them in that conversation. As much as I like Julian Hicks or any of those other guys, didn't see enough to kind of get them in that conversation. Emmanuel Wilson, I thought, helped himself with that running back spot. We'll see where Marshawn Lloyd is in his recovery, but Emmanuel Wilson being able to get out there, have some really, that one drive was just a very Emmanuel Wilson centric drive. I think that is going to be something that really helps him. I want to go back and watch Donovan Jennings, but the fact that he was out there with the starters, potentially a good sign for him. He'd had a really tough couple first preseason games. Again, I didn't keep a extreme close eye on it, but I'm interested to see what he kind of brought to the table. I thought Desalin Alexander, I'm not ready to say he's in that 53-man conversation quite yet. Remember, he plays a lot of teams, though, and is definitely somebody that continued to make plays all throughout training camp and now in preseason as well. Had the batted pass. Just an impressive preseason and training camp from him. Probably a guy that you're just loving to get back on the practice squad. But I thought he and Aaron Mosby continued to make some noise. And if, Barron Sorella is not back and Colin Oliver's not ready to go, that certainly could get maybe those two guys in the conversation a little bit more. Not to mention, I thought Brenton Cox was phenomenal to start. If there's any question, it's like, it's tough because he doesn't do anything on teams, but I still think he's just a good enough pure defensive end to keep on your team. That is not a player that should probably be going anywhere, and is certainly locked in right now, it would seem, to that number 4 defensive end spot. At linebacker, I thought Isaiah Simmons was better and continued to make plays on special teams. Christian Welch continued to play well. We'll see if they're willing to keep 6 linebackers. I think it's within the realm of possibility. And if so, both Christian Welch and Isaiah Simmons could find their way onto the team. But those were some players definitely that to me kind of stood out and helped themselves. I still don't have a great feel for Elgersma Clifford. That's the one where, I don't know. I just, if you have a strong feel one way or the other, awesome. I just think you're swimming upstream with either of those guys at the moment. To me, Clifford probably helps you a little bit more on scout team stuff. He's a college, an accomplished college quarterback who's in his 3rd year now, who has gone through this before, knows how to run scout team, and actually has some real value that way from actually being here in Green Bay and being able to do some of that stuff. He's also mobile enough where he can emulate a lot of different quarterbacks. Elgersma just has better upside. Like, what you're getting with Sean Clifford. Elgersma is swimming right now. I mean, you can just see, like, at the line of scrimmage, he's very jumpy and not exactly sure what's going on, but you can also see the arm talent and his ability to get the ball down the field, and some of the ad-lib ability as well. I think if you're looking at this a little bit more long-term, you could say Elgersma. If you want somebody that's going to help you a little bit more on, scout team, I think it's probably Clifford. And you would just have to know that if either of those guys see actual playing time in games, it's probably going to be a really difficult process for you. And I don't think it's entirely impossible either that they could go elsewhere to look for a number 3 quarterback, probably not on the active roster, but probably somebody for the practice squad. But I don't think either of them are guarantees to make the team at this point. But a lot of different, interesting kind of player outcomes in this one. I'm interested to go back and watch Nasir Stackhouse in this one as well. He played a ton. Anthony Belton played a ton, had another penalty, had a couple of mistakes here and there, but I also thought he looked pretty good. But I think the overarching, again, takeaway is I thought it was a much cleaner performance from Green Bay in all phases. And then I buried the lead as well. Our Luige's Pizza player of the game in this one has got to be Daniel Whalen. I mean, dude is just in prime form right now, just kicking the absolute snot out of the ball. He looks incredible right now. Again, punts that are defying gravity, good height, good hang time, just absolute, bombs down the field. He really looks incredible. So thought a lot of positive performances, not a lot of guys that like hurt themselves in this game. I thought a couple maybe, again, I don't think Micah Robinson or maybe Corey Ballantyne did themselves some favors, but outside of that, I thought it was a good, clean performance and a great way to kind of get you through that final preseason game. Not the most exhilarating game in the world, but a win. And now we get set for Detroit coming up in a massive game in week 1 that is going to have a lot of stakes and hopefully, fingers crossed, a lot of that injury list. Jordan Love, we know he's going to be there, but Jaden Reed, Dontavian Wicks, Nate Hobbs, Xavier McKinney, Marshawn Lloyd, Zane Anderson, Colin Oliver, Jacob Monk, Aaron Banks, Elton Jenkins, Savion Williams, Devontae Wyatt, Kenny Clark, Barron Sorrell. That's 14 guys that are going to make your 53-man roster, or would, that are banged up right now that we're not exactly sure what their status is. McKinney, it seems like we know he's going to be ready to go for week 1. But outside of that, a lot of question marks on the injury front as we get ready for, this upcoming game against Detroit. That's just, again, going to be a massive, huge game. All right, with that, let's get to all of your questions. I will try to get to as many as I can through the next 30 to 45 minutes or so. First of all, John, thank you so much for becoming a brand new YouTube member. If you haven't done that yet, what are you waiting for? Now is the perfect time. If you can't do that, no problem. I get it. Never a requirement, but just simply hit that subscribe button, and that helps us out a ton as well. Joey says, so the weight route, the out route is the new jet sweep. Not sure what that first word is there, but the out route is the new jet sweep. This is something that Jordan is a really good thrower of that little short out route. They definitely used it. They used it in the past. It's not something we're going to see a ton of this season. It's not like we're going to go, out route, but this again just speaks to the vanilla nature of preseason. They used a lot of their just kind of staple plays, quick out routes, that double crosser in the end zone. They did a lot of stuff that is just kind of install 101 that you have as some of your core staples. You're never going to run it quite that much or anything like that come regular season, but that just kind of is preseason stuff where you don't put anything too exciting or exhilarating on tape. I've seen all I need to. Golden is going to have a Justin Jefferson type of rookie season. We are winning the Super Bowl. Beast, you go for it. I don't have anything to negate what you are saying in any way, shape, or form. So I'm going to let you live your life and live your dream. And let's just all go along for the ride. And if Matthew Golden wants to go be the next Justin Jefferson and the Packers want to go in the Super Bowl, who am I to stop them? That is all we could ever ask for. And I'll take every second of that, Beast Bumblebee. All right. Elite Chicken says, I love having a kicker. Yeah, I think again, kicker and punter, this has to be one of the best kicker punter duos that we've seen in Green Bay in a really long time right now. And that's exciting. You don't want to see those guys. You want to get touchdowns and extra points, which I guess includes the kicker, but you want to get touchdowns and not have to settle for long field goals or have to punt the ball away. But when you need those guys, you want them to be able to perform. And right now, there's no holding of breath. There's no nervousness. There's no anything. When McManus is out there, you feel confident. When Whalen's out there, you feel like things are going to go right and you're going to be able to flip the field. Those are two pretty important pieces to have when it comes to special teams and just make it the makeup of your roster feel really good about where both Whalen and McManus are at for the time being. Game ball goes to the defense. Let's get the season started. Yeah, they played really well today. Love the turnovers. Love the third down stops. Love the fourth down stops. Just thought it was a really well-rounded effort. And again, you're not seeing anything exotic from the defense, but I love the attention to detail again. Some of those plays like Kalen King screaming up and setting the edge, getting through, two offensive players to get to his spot, defensive end setting the edge. It was just, it was a team effort on defense, despite it not being anything exotic or crazy or schemed up or game planned for. Just some simple core concepts that they went out and executed really, really well. And I really like that from the defense today. Kenny's Pro Bowls have been 19, 21, 23. All right, we're doing the odd year stuff. Wasn't Preston Smith like that as well every other year? I will gladly take a Pro Bowl year from Kenny Clark this year. King made a strong push to make the roster today. Also great by Ballantyne on punt coverage. Yeah, I thought King helped himself quite a bit. That was the best we've seen from Kalen King. And after Bo Melton being the likely fourth guy that makes it, I thought King and Haddon helped themselves. Ballantyne got beat on that one play, was playing late into the game. Could still easily make it. But right now, I think I like Haddon and Kalen King just a tad bit more on that final spot coming out of this game. I think Micah Robinson kind of feels like fourth of that group right now, with Ballantyne probably just being on the outside looking in. But there's a lot of debate to be had at that corner job. And it's not just going to be this game that decides it. They're going to put the full body of work together, look at special teams, look at defense. They'll look at Corey Ballantyne and what he's done in Green Bay in the past, working with Rich Bisaccia over the last couple of years, working with, Jeff Hafley this past, or last year, I should say. So there's a lot of tape. There's a lot of, film study. There's a lot of everything to kind of go into that equation, and we'll see what they ultimately decide. But I thought Kalen King, Kamal Haddon helped themselves today. Kalen King is on the 53. Simmons is off. Welch is in. I think Simmons is still on. I think he's going to be a core special teamer for them. They got him a lot of work on defense because I think they want to see if they can use him at all on defense. But I think he's still going to be on the team. I think Welch is a little bit more in danger, but I think there's a legitimate chance that they keep 6 linebackers on this team. A lot of it's going to come down to the injuries, and it really gets just difficult to sort of predict right now what this 53 is going to look like because we don't know where some of these injuries lie. Are some of these players going to need the 4 weeks and you're going to designate them to return? Does Colin Oliver get activated before you can put him on the PUP list? Probably not at this point. It doesn't make any sense to do so. So I think those are all very interesting questions. And without knowing all of them, it's going to be tough to sort of prognosticate and predict what's going to happen on that 53. But right now, I think there's a good chance actually that I think Simmons is on, and I think there's a decent chance that Welch gets on as well. Heath also helped himself today. 68 at center, looked pretty good overall in run and pass blocking. Lacita Smith, and he's in that conversation. I think if I were to actually predict right now assuming everyone is healthy and Monk gets that 8 spot, I think the ninth right now is probably between Luiges Smith and Donovan Jennings. I don't know that Telfort's in that conversation at the moment. He may, at least maybe in the conversation, but if I had to predict the ninth today, I'd probably take Donovan Jennings slightly over Luiges Smith because I just think there's a little bit more, kind of long-term upside there. But I could honestly see Luiges Smith getting that ninth spot. It does not exactly give you a ton of confidence right now where that depth is at number 9, but he's in the conversation for sure. And I thought he had a nice day today as well. I want whatever the refs were smoking today on that early interception. Yeah, no idea. I'm just happy. Hey, get all these crappy, kind of calls out of our systems now. You know, I just hopefully we can have these happen in the preseason so we don't have to have them happen in the regular season. Oh, thank you. Thank you, Peyton, for bringing this up. I meant to talk about Tyron Hopper a bit as well and totally forgot. Another big day for Tyron Hopper. I didn't get my 3-0 prediction right for preseason, but one of my bold predictions was that Tyron Hopper would be one of the stars of training camp in preseason. That has come absolutely true. And Tyron Hopper has been fantastic. He definitely should be in that conversation for that number 3 linebacker spot. I know they like McDuffie, but Hopper looks really good right now. He's flying around. And the idea of a Quay, Hopper, Cooper linebacker core right now, 3 fast physical guys, sign me the hell up. I'm all in on that. He needs to get in there. I think maybe they split time. I mean, it's tough to split time in 4-3 because you're barely in 4-3 as it is. So, any split snaps, you might as well not even play at that point. But I don't know what you have to do to get him on the field, but I think he should at least have a package or two. And I think he's earned it for sure. And I would probably have him ahead of McDuffie right now, but really, really nice preseason. And I thought today was the exclamation point on it for Tyron Hopper. We need to re-sign Baoju. Don't see that happening. All right, we're going to come back to the Beast Bumblebee here at 6:07 in just a second. I want to get to some of these super chats. All right, R.R. Smith, quick hits. Hopper is the poster child of draft and develop. Well said. Hardman and Simmons began camp and finished bleh. I still think Simmons has got a real chance to make it as a special teamer. Mason Crosby, by the way, Mason Crosby of the Mason Crosby Show on the Fan. He comes on right after I do my show, 8 to 9 a.m. on the Fan, Monday through Friday. He talked about Isaiah Simmons when he spent his time in New York as the kicker for the Giants for a few weeks, whatever it was. He said that their entire special teams was basically based around Isaiah Simmons, and he was a core piece on that team. I have to think that there's a real consideration there. Simmons is the starting gunner along with Bo Melton and is on the kick coverage unit as well. I just think he's going to make the team as a special teams player. I've said it from pretty much day one since they signed him. You really don't want him on the field on defense. It's been a net negative since he's been in the league. He's never been able to really figure it out or put it together. There's tantalizing height, weight, speed, but he has figured out special teams. And I think he's a core enough player there that they're going to keep him. But it definitely is it's something watching him on defense. I'll put it that way. Golden might be our best wide receiver already. Gronk and Hernandez equals Kraft and Musgrave. Let's slow down a little bit on that tight end comp. And number 5 is injuries. Yeah, I don't think a ton of new injuries today from what I saw, but definitely a lot of injuries out there, and hopefully they can get those cleared up soon. All right, John Kramer, member for 15 months. Love you sickos who watched every preseason snap. It's an elite group of unbelievably minded individuals. And not only that, but almost 500 people here in our live chat to talk about it afterwards. You guys are sick, and I love every single second of it. All right. Bumblebee, that was exactly what I was hoping for. A clean game, especially from the first and second team, aside from Willis' pick, which wasn't a pick, and but still a poor throw and decision. Yeah, an ill-advised throw in that situation. Definitely not an interception, but you live, you learn. I thought overall Willis made some things happen. I thought he had a really great end of training camp over the last couple weeks. Still made some things happen in this game. Probably not quite the preseason that he wanted. I think he was probably hoping he could come out and just absolutely dominate and show he's unequivocally a starting quarterback in the league. I don't think he quite showed that, but we don't have to worry about that in Green Bay. We can worry about him being one of the best backups in football. I still think he is very much so. And that's what that's what you're hoping for from him. You don't need him to be the starter. You got Jordan Love for that. But if he needs to come in and play, I think you still have some level of confidence that he can come in and get the job done. Did anyone else see Devontae Adams out there? I'm assuming you mean Matthew Golden. I didn't see Devontae Adams, but they're different types of players. But Matthew Golden is a hell of a player, and he's going to have a hell of his own path in the NFL. Still don't think that first interception was actually a catch. I'm right there with you, Lonnie. His hands were under the ball, and it moved when it hit the ground. I totally agree. Think Sean Clifford is number 4 quarterback? Yeah, that's probably true. We'll see if he actually has a spot on the team. Again, this comes down to, do you want the scout team guy or do you want the guy with upside? And it just comes down to, like, if you feel like El Gersma has legitimate upside, he's on the practice squad. You're not letting him go. You could potentially keep 2. I don't think there's really value in that. So they'll probably decide between it, but it comes down to, if they think El Gersma has enough upside, they just keep him. If they're like, yeah, he's got some upside, but maybe it's not that high, then it's, do you want the guy with some upside or do you want the guy that can run scout team better? And if either of them have to get in the game, you're in trouble. Sam Gatto is a doctor. Earlier this offseason, Andy, I asked you if Whelan you thought was top 10. You said no, more like 18-ish. What's your opinion on him now? He's been great this camp. If he punts this season like he has in camp and preseason, he's a top 5 to 8 guy in the league for sure. He punted really well camp and preseason last year, started the season, and then hit a wall. And I get kicking in Lambeau, cold weather, some of that plays a factor, no question about it. But he didn't finish the year last year like he started. And there was definitely a fall off about midway through the year. I just want to see him have that consistency throughout the entirety of the season. And if he is, we're talking about, again, one of the best punters that we've seen in Green Bay, probably since Craig Hentrick. And that's definitely saying something. So I'm very high on him. I love him. I was talking at camp the other day. There's a real chance that your next extension candidate in Green Bay is Daniel Whelan, like sincerely. And he would be deserving right now of that. I just want to see him do it consistently throughout the course of the year. I'm not saying it has to be as good when it gets cold. I get the ball gets hard. You get some bad conditions. It doesn't need to be perfect, but just want to see that consistency throughout the entirety of the season. Absolutely, Tyron Hopper has a role. Let's see it. Let's get him out there a little bit more. Yeah, we talked about Clifford. Did any linemen stand out today? I haven't seen the game yet. I'm always a little bit dubious to talk about offensive linemen that stood out by just watching the game live. That's one of those ones that you have to really go and study a little bit more in detail to get a better feel for. Sometimes you've really like, yeah, these guys stood out, and then you watch it back and you're like, oh man, they got crossed up on numerous occasions or had, bad eyes on, blitzes or whatever. And, so I didn't see anyone off the top of my mind that was like, oh my God, look how well this guy played. I thought in general, early on, the offensive line seemed like they were pretty cohesive. I thought as the day went on, it wasn't quite as good, but that's one that I'm gonna have to go back and watch the tape on a little bit. Pack wins, not 20-7, but 0 injuries is a huge win. Hopefully that is the case. What's up, Andy? Glad to see the boys play clean and having fun and no injuries. That collision where the 2 Seahawks got injured was crazy. Pokey, I was concerned we were going to get a Patriots incident there where the guy had to be carted off on an ambulance and they ended the game. And was obviously concerned for the 2 players on the play. The neck one, or it looked like a potentially scary neck injury. The other one had a leg injury. It felt for the guy with the leg injury, but the immediate one is like, oh my God, the neck injury looked really bad. Was so thankful to see him get up and walk off on his own power. So yeah, hopefully those 2 are okay. But I was just glad that we didn't have to get an ambulance or a stretcher or anything like that involved, and both players were able to get up off the field. I think we go 5 or 6 corners. I've been thinking 5 as Bullard is a quasi corner. Again, the really hard part here is, where do some of these injuries? Are you putting Barron Sorrell and Marshawn Lloyd on IR designated to return? Are they capable of playing? That can change the calculus for some of the numbers at these positions. You could probably get away with 5 wide receivers if everyone's healthy, but if Wicks and Reed and Savion Williams aren't going to be ready to go, then you're going to definitely need another wide receiver. Injuries just kind of cloud this. I'm going to say 6 at corner, but they could probably go to 5 because of Bullard and get away with that. But I'm going to guess 6, but it could easily go either way. How does Alexander, R-E, by the way, on Alexander, Alexendre for Alexander, not make this team? This is a guy that, if you remember back first preseason, I said, hey, if you're getting into the 4th quarter and need somebody to watch Deslin Alexander. I talked about him and Julian Hicks. Alexander's been really good. I still think he's probably a practice squad guy. I think a lot of his work has come against the 4s and 3s, and I think that is worth noting. but he's done everything that he could to get his name in the conversation as much as possible. I think Mosby and all the guys ahead of Mosby, meaning, well, we don't know where the rookies are at from an injury standpoint, but you've got four guys, Cox and Igbare, LVN and Gary, who are no doubt making the team, right? And then you probably have Mosby as the 5 and then Alexander as the 6, and that doesn't include the rookies. And if all of a sudden the rookies are on the active roster in any way, then you're in real deep crap. But I've loved what I've seen from him. And if he, like I've talked about for months now, if you can just get that guy on the practice squad, he's somebody that you can call up and play on teams and have him play 10, 15 snaps a game. And you feel totally confident in it that it's not going to be something where like, oh, we got to get this guy off the field. I think he can hang in this league. And a guy like that on the practice squad, if you can get him there, is really, really valuable throughout the course of the season to provide you just a little bit more depth. Any chance the Packers keep 4 quarterbacks? Yes, we've talked about this, but it would be 2 on the active, 2 on the practice squad. I don't think there's much value in doing that. I mean, neither of them are good. Like if both were really good, you'd be like, yeah, let's see if we can get both back. I think neither of them are to the point where you're like, oh, I'll put it this way. If the team lost both Elgersma and Sean Clifford somehow, like they waived them and they both got claimed other places, which is not happening, by the way. But if it did, I don't think Green Bay would lose any sleep over it. They're like, oh yeah, let's just get another third developmental quarterback and put him on the practice squad. I think they'd be fine. And if you start feeling that way, I'm not sure again that you need to put both of those guys on the PS. So, pick your poison, pick which one that you want. And then from there, see if there's a better player that you can pick up, that got waived or that's released or that's on the street. And if so, maybe go in a different direction. But for me, I would probably go Elgersma, but I could understand Clifford because I do think he brings a ton of value to the scout team right now. Malik he's got the arm, man. There's no doubting Malik Willis's arm. It is a cannon and he can absolutely throw some heat seeking missiles in there. Love nearly got murdered on the sidelines during an interview. He did. Thankfully he was okay. Thankfully our friend of the show, Ashley Washburn, was okay. And it seemed like the cameraman was okay as well. So hopefully everything was good there. Could be off the mark, but if you could get Trey for a second and Bullard, are you taking it? I think this team is stacked all over the board, especially safety. The place I want all pro is the defensive line. I would take that personally. Z Sunrise. I would want probably like Bullard in a second for like Trey in like a 5th, something like that. I want a little bit something back probably there. But even if I wouldn't fight over the 5th, I would probably take that deal. Again, this probably for Green Bay has far less to do with the draft capital and the player that you're trading and far more to do with the contract that you have to give him. That's going to complicate things a lot more down the road. And there's trade-offs down the road, which if you didn't listen to the episode this past week, I highly recommend checking it out. There's going to be a lot of trade-offs down the road of other players that you won't have because of that salary for Trey Hendrickson, that just a 2nd-round pick and Javon Bullard might sound like, yeah, great, perfect. But next year you might lose 3-4 more players because you're paying Trey Hendrickson all that money. So it's not just a 2nd-round pick and a player. It's actually a 2nd-round pick, a player, and 4 more players that you can't re-sign next year because you've got Trey Hendrickson on the roster. Let's see. They should dump them both and sign a QB3 like they did with Malik. I don't think they need to be super aggressive going after a QB3. Again, you're just screwed if you get to that point, and you can accept that, right? Nobody should have to have a QB3 that is ready to go and in play. Let's just say what it is. There's just not that many good throwers of the football in our world that we live in. If you've got 2, you've got a really good starter in Jordan Love. You've got one of the best backups in Malik Willis. If the football gods say Jordan Love is hurt and Malik Willis is hurt, pack it in, get that high draft pick. Like you just roll with it at that point and say it is what it is. I don't think you need to be super aggressive. If you can make small incremental improvements and there's somebody that got cut or waived and they're out there and they're willing to sign with you as a practice squad guy and they're better than Elgersma and Clifford, then yeah, do it, of course. But I don't think you need to be ultra aggressive in trading draft picks for a number 3 quarterback or anything like that. If there's a young quarterback, this is the wrong guy, but I'll just use this as an example. Kenny Pickett. Kenny Pickett apparently is on the trade block for Cleveland. If you get him for like a ham sandwich, let's not even say a 7th-round pick. Let's say you can exchange McCole Hardman. They're like, hey, we'll give you Kenny Pickett for McCole Hardman. Now, the hard part is with that, you'd have to keep Pickett as your third quarterback, right? Which now you've got 3 of your 53 locked into quarterback position. But if you can find something like that, and Green Bay likes the quarterback and upside and feel like they can work with it, it's not the worst idea to get ahead of your need for a backup quarterback in 2026 to get that now, understanding that Malik Willis probably walks next free agency. So if you can find something where you get a good young developmental quarterback for a ham sandwich and you're willing to roster him on the 53, sure, do it. Why not? But outside of something like that, again, I don't think that you would need to go aggressively in that direction. The guys sure did make it hard for the coaches in cuts. Yeah, there were certainly some players who stepped up today and made their presence known. And that's exactly what you want to see from some of those young players vying for roster spots. How did Jalen Milroe look in practice and in the preseason game? I didn't get to see him in practice too much. I was watching the Packers offense primarily. I thought he had a couple moments today, but I was quite frankly expecting a little bit more out of him. But one of the really hard things to do with backup quarterbacks is judge them when everything around them is also a backup. And if Jalen Milroe was out there with all the starters all game long, I would have been intrigued with what that looked like. But I didn't think he elevated the team in any sort of significant way in the preseason game today. Like I said, I was expecting a little bit more out of him. And with that, the Packers 2025 camp comes to an end. How in the world did this summer go by so fast? I have no idea. It is insane how quick it went. Quarterback 3 battle to me is so mad. Take or leave either of them, I say. Yep, we definitely just talked about that. Bo Melton did play. I didn't see anything, specific that he did out on the field. But when I go back and rewatch it, I'll try to keep an extra eye on him. You really don't seem to be a big fan of Elgersma, and I'm not sure why. Not saying he's ready to play right now, but I feel like he's looked pretty good given all the factors going against him. I've actually been like an Elgersma guy. I like the story. There's certain things that you just have to have as a quarterback, and the ability to kind of go through your progressions, marry your feet to your vision and those progressions, the footwork, again, the confidence to kind of stand in the pocket and go through everything. They're just things that I see that he's just nowhere close right now. That's not a knock on him. He shouldn't be. He's a Canadian quarterback that played with 12 players in a bigger field, and just everything is completely new to him. I like the arm. I talked about it from the very first time. Well, I watched him prior to it a little bit, but when I saw him live at rookie minicamp, I'm like, yeah, this dude can spin it. He's 6'4", 6'5", laser rocket arm. He's got a lot of traits. I just think that there's a steep learning curve here. And I think what you have to, come to the conclusion of is how much time, effort, and energy are you putting into your number 3 quarterback to put that development? Are you going to keep this guy for 3-4 years as your number 3 QB to get him to the spot that he needs to be? Maybe they do. I don't know. But I just think that it comes down to neither of those guys are ready to win you football games right now, Elgersma or Sean Clifford. And that's an okay thing to say. Most third quarterbacks in this league are not. That's a really tough spot to be in. But Elgersma to me is higher upside. Clifford knows the offense better and can be a really important piece as a scout team quarterback. Which one do you want to go with? And again, if there's somebody else out there that's a little bit better, you can do that too. Elgersma's fun. I really like the traits. He's just, there are a multitude of steps that he needs to take in order to get to the spot where he is a viable, playable quarterback in this league right now. Let's see. Wheelan for MVP. I'm right there with you. McNasty with the 52-yard field goal. It's so nice having a real kicker. I agree. What is up with Elton Jenkins? We do not know yet, unless Matt LaFleur talked about it in his post-game presser. Seeing if LaFleur said anything. Matt LaFleur just called Tyron Hopper one of the Packers' most improved players from a year ago. We've been talking about that. Justice has been on that very much as well. Let's see. I think I'm just checking if LaFleur had anything else to say on the injuries. Yeah, it doesn't seem like it. Not off the top. So yeah, right now I do not believe we have. I do not believe we have any note on either Elton Jenkins or Devontae Wyatt for what their injuries actually are. I don't see how you would cut Cox. Defensive end is too valuable. Yeah, I don't think so either. I think he's on this team. Emmanuel Wilson did look extremely smooth today. Wide receiver room does need to get healthy. Super Bowl champions, go Pack, go. I love that, Krista. I'm all in. Let's see. Simmons, Welch, and Johnson is a tough call. I don't think Johnson quite got to that level. I think he's probably one of their priority practice squad guys. I can tell you, Jamon Johnson, I'll be pretty stunned if they waive him and he gets claimed by another team. So he should be back in the practice squad. And like I said, I think Simmons is making it based on special teams. I think Welch is a battle between some of the other players on the roster, but I think Welch does have a real chance to make it as a sixth linebacker. Is Daniel Whelan the best Packer punter of all time? I'm sure he's not, but I don't think we've had a better one in my lifetime. He can be. He can be, at least in my lifetime. Before 1990, 91, when I started watching, maybe there was somebody better, and I do not have the Packers historical punters anywhere near in my lexicon of things that I can talk about. But I do think that he's got the ability to be, at least right there with like the Craig Hendricks, and they're just also, we've had really crappy punters. So the bar is not very high, but he has that ability to be, for sure. No question. Packers are going to keep 11 defensive linemen. Andy, thanks for a great preseason of content. You're more than welcome. Thanks for being here. All right. So 11, 6 plus 5. Yeah, they'll definitely keep 11. I think the question is, I think they'll probably keep 6 defensive ends and 5 defensive tackles. I think Nasir probably is back on the practice squad. The sideline interview cutting out scared me to death. Yeah, that was not what you wanted to see in that situation. That's for sure. Thought Simmons, Welch, and King helped themselves on D. Wasn't impressed by Stackhouse or Oladapo. I'll take El Gersma over Clifford and Johnson over Bonaconda. I don't have anything that I disagree with there. MS and Mike. I think every single one of those things is spot on. Any chance the Packers keep more corners? I have a feeling Hobbs' injury is going to be a problem. Yeah, again, I think they can keep 6. I think they do keep 6, but it's going to be close. They could keep 5. Depends, again, how they want to view Javon Bullard, and it might depend, too, on where Hobbs is with his injury recovery. Is Hopper ahead of McDuffie for linebacker 3? I don't know if it's there yet, but if it's not there yet, it should probably get there soon. There at least has to be a conversation within, the defensive staff and Matt LaFleur of, how do we get Hopper out on the field? And is it just as simple as him taking McDuffie's spot? He should be in that conversation for sure. Yeah, hadn't had a nice day today. 2 back-to-back tweets, or not tweets, I guess, but YouTube messages about that. Simmons did have a good day. I do think that Justice tweeted this out as well. He might have been the one to fault on that big run by Seattle, but I want to go take a better look at that one. It was nice to see Malik use his legs some more. Yeah, I mean, he can do that when he wants. I think in preseason, you want to try to limit that a little bit. And in camp, it's not really fair always because you're wearing the red jersey. But yeah, he has that at his disposal anytime that he wants to. Welch did play solid. And again, there is the chance that they could keep 6 linebackers. Still need a corner. We'll see. They could make a move there for sure. But I definitely thought Kalen King and Kamal hadn't helped themselves today. I was ready to pick Alexander over Mosby, but Alexander seemed to tire. He played a lot of snaps, but so did Mosby. I still think Alexander's on the practice squad. Mosby's an interesting conversation. As long as the top 7 offensive linemen stay healthy, Green Bay should do well. It's kind of 6. Belton is still a very interesting conversation with where he's at, but he'll definitely be one of the ones that I'm going to be watching and keeping a very close eye on rewatch here. Let McDuffie play rundown. I mean, McDuffie's not in any pass downs as it is already. He's in 4-3 situations. So he's not going in. If you do get a nickel situation where Quay or Cooper get hurt, then I think that would be a more interesting conversation to have. But McDuffie already doesn't play passing down, so that doesn't really help you in that situation. Jennings probably helped himself, but again, I want to see how he actually played. He got a lot of playing time, but what he did with it is going to be really important in this one. The 2 kickers were the best 2 Packers players in camp. I'm assuming you mean the kicker and the punter and not McNamee. McNamee had some solid moments, but certainly not in that conversation. But I'm assuming you mean the kicker and the punter. It wasn't a lot of 2s and 3s, but the passing game looked concerningly out of sync today. I don't have it. Hopefully we never see any of these quarterbacks on the field this upcoming season. And I don't have any concern over that whatsoever right now. Good finally fixed his 3rd round curse. Now Golden will hopefully fix his 1st round curse. Now listen, you're going to miss some draft picks every single year, but hopefully Golden goes out, balls out this year. And yeah, he's had some really good 3rd round picks as of late, like Tucker Kraft, Tyron Hopper now in that conversation, and Sean Ryan as well. Why does everyone want Parsons when we have Aaron Mosby? It's a very fair question. Very, very fair question. Belton did have another penalty today. It's something he's got to work on. I just love the Matt LaFleur reaction after that one, just shaking his head and being like, what, yeah, I love that. That great job by the camera crew on that one. Yes, multiple players are wearing double numbers, Jackie. So that is something that you can do in preseason. You just can't, you're not supposed to have those guys on the field at the same time, but you can have multiple players wearing the same number. And those are not the only examples of that. There are others as well. There are two number 16s, Sean Clifford and Bo Melton, two 17s, Brandon McManus and Quan Baker, two 19s, Taylor Algersma and Daniel Whelan. Let's see, any others? 246s, Tyron Herring and Amar Johnson, 248s, Jamon Johnson and Messiah Swinson. See if there's any others, just going through this really quick. I think that's going to be it. Yeah, those are the only ones. But yeah, there are multiple examples of players wearing double numbers on the team right now. If I were Belton, I would be pretty tired of Matt LaFleur screaming at me. Just got to clean up the small things. Just got to clean up the small things for Belton. I think Malik kind of showed why he isn't a starter this preseason, but I'm still thrilled with him as the backup. One of the best backups in the league. Listen, I don't think personally Malik is a starting quarterback in the league. That's just my view on it. He's probably somewhere between the 31st and 40th quarterback in the NFL. And you might say, well, if he's the 31st or 32nd, he's a starting quarterback. Maybe, but he's one of those ones that you're just always trying to replace if he's in that spot, right? So sure, maybe, but he's probably between, again, the 31st and 40th, 42nd, somewhere in that range of quarterbacks. And that's a blessing to have when you have one of the top backups in the league. And all you want is, if your quarterback's out 4 games, somebody that can get you to 2-2. And last year, Jordan went out 4 times and Malik got them to 3-1. And that Bears game was a weird one. I basically just say there were 3 games and Malik got him to 3-0. And I mean, that is a luxury to have if you've got it. And Green Bay has a luxury at backup quarterback right now in Malik Willis. And I think, like, quite frankly, it's one of the best backup quarterback archetypes that you can have, is the mobile quarterback that can just make some stuff happen and you can kind of rein him in, have a ball control, run first offense, utilize him on some, read option and some running plays, let him scramble around a little bit, but he's also got the great arm. He's got a great football IQ, and you can scheme some things up for him. Like, he's just exactly what you want in that position. Not to mention that if you are going against a speedy quarterback for a week, you can have him help out on the scout team as well. Like, it's a really nice luxury to have Malik Willis as the backup. And again, I'm rooting for him. If he goes out next year and goes to Indianapolis and becomes their starting quarterback and plays great, awesome. Kudos to him. I just think he's probably one of more of the top backups, and that's what he is in Green Bay. And it's, like I said, a huge luxury to have. I think both quarterbacks make the squad, meaning Algersma and Clifford. I think that's just kind of a waste. I don't know why. I don't know why you do that. They're not helping you win anything. So I think that just seems a little bit inefficient, but I guess not totally impossible. When I asked if anyone else saw Devontae Adams, I was referring to there being a wide receiver. Oh, on the Packers wearing 17. Yeah, Baker. I don't know who he is. I saw him in the 4th quarter. Yeah, that is Baker. Probably one of their easier decisions to make when it comes to cut down time. He just didn't have a ton of time, but Quan Baker is number 17. Well, this is what you expect in a quarterback too, good enough to win a few games. We just talked about the exact same thing, Omer. Andy, I really like what Hopper put together this preseason. Do you think Kalen King put together enough to make the roster at cornerback 5? Whether it's cornerback 5 or cornerback 6, he is very much in that conversation. I think he put himself ahead today. I think him and Kamal Hadden are in the 5th and 6th spots. I think Ballantyne's still in the conversation. I think Micah Robinson is currently on the outside looking in. But again, I think that conversation is going to run deep with all of training camp, mini camp, OTAs, going back to last year for guys like Ballantyne, Kalen King, and Kamal Hadden. They have a lot of stuff on those players, and they're going to be able to make a determination. Part of it might be on which one they think they have the best chance of getting back on the practice squad too. So yeah, we'll see how it goes. But for me, I thought Kalen King and Kamal Hadden finished strong enough to be probably, for at least to me, again, leaders in the clubhouse right now for corners 5 and 6. It's time to say goodbye to Sean Clifford, a wasted 5th round pick 3 years ago. Yeah, it probably. Again, if you're going to take a quarterback in the fifth round, you get a few years out of them. It's I don't know. It's not the greatest fifth round pick in the world, but you take a flyer on a quarterback. They overdrafted him. I think everyone knew it at the time. There was that huge run on quarterbacks. They didn't have any money to spend, and they needed a backup. I think they were hoping that they were going to get one of those guys that maybe went a little bit further, and then all of a sudden it was like quarterback, 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 and they're like, Sean Clifford. So yeah, it is what it is, and they've course corrected and got Malik Willis and, utilized the seventh round pick that way in a very smart move. Such an NFL cycle that I listen, not watch the Patriots preseason games because I like their home field broadcast. That's awesome. I love that. Is there any significance to Brooks playing before Wilson? Yeah, I think Brooks is, if you could only keep one, Brooks is making the team. I've said that for a while now. Brooks is not going anywhere. That guy's ability to pick up the blitz, be the number 3 running back, I'd be pretty stunned if he wasn't on the team. So he's a good running back too. Just like if you need to hand the ball off to him, excuse me, he can get some things done. So yeah, I think he's just ahead of Emmanuel Wilson. It's an interesting dynamic. I've talked about this, but I think there's a real world in which if everyone's healthy, you keep 4 running backs, and your 3 running backs going into game day are Jacobs, Lloyd, and Chris Brooks, with Emmanuel Wilson probably on the inactive list for the game. But if Josh Jacobs were to go down and you needed the next running back up, I think Emmanuel Wilson is the one that gets the most carries and kind of takes over that Josh Jacobs role. So it's just interesting that the role that Wilson plays is like kind of the pure running back, the bell cow, the guy you're going to hand the ball off to a ton. But with Jacobs and then Lloyd being the change of pace and Chris Brooks being the third down back, there's no role for him on game days right now. But again, he's probably your number 2 runner, like the guy that backs up Jacobs if Jacobs actually goes down. That's why I think they keep all 4. And obviously the Lloyd injury with that kind of makes it a little bit more intriguing as to how they kind of handle that. And if Lloyd ends up on IR designated to return, your decision becomes very easy. And it's just Wilson, Lloyd, and Jacobs, and they're all active for game day. Someone hire Mr. Miyagi so he can do the clap hands healing thing for our walking wounded. Need guys back. Almost went into cardiac arrest when Love did his sideline interview and got taken out. King should make the team. All right, I'm going to get to our members chats and super chats for the rest of the time. I do got to get out of here pretty quick here, but thank you guys all for the questions. Is Sean Clifford one of those Chase Daniels, Sean Mannion guys where, yes, he's a backup, but he's really a coach on the roster, retires and becomes a quarterback coach? Is that what path he's heading? I don't know well enough to know what he's like in the locker room and all of that sort of stuff. But if there is an archetype there for Sean Clifford, that probably is what he needs to make out of himself to be a career, 8 to 10 year guy in the NFL. Count your blessings, folks. Hafley is on borrowed time because he's going to be a head coach next year, if not 2027. He should be. I think he really, really should be. But right now, I'm very happy that he's the Packers defensive coordinator. More tackling like this, please. Yeah, I thought they were really good today in most phases. I thought they did a really nice job. I did not go to the game today. So I had 3 soccer games today. My oldest had 2 soccer games, and my youngest had his first soccer game. Was down in Oshkosh for my youngest game on the first game while my oldest played in Appleton. Then my oldest had a game that was at 2:30. Went and watched that one until about 3:30, watched, him in the game, and then had my phone going for like the first quarter, got home by the end of the first quarter, but did not actually attend in the press box today. So prioritized seeing the boys. If it would have been a regular season game, would have been a different story, but chose the boys soccer today over going to the preseason game in the press box. All right. Hopper looks like a different player this year. Violent presence. Yeah. I don't think it was ever quite as bad last year as people were kind of talking about. I talked about it at the time when he got drafted. I thought there were some real flaws, but I've also talked about pretty at length of why you make that pick where you make it. And it's because you just don't have many linebackers with that height, weight, speed that can turn into exactly what we're seeing them turn into. If you can find that in the 3rd round, there is so much value there. And this is a great example of draft and develop. As somebody mentioned earlier in the chat, he's playing really well, and I'm excited to see if he can make an impact this season. Not into repeating myself, but it bears repeating. I'm really impressed by Hopper. Way to take command of your offseason and level up. It's what you want to see. That's how it's supposed to work. Andy, what situation was more confusing for you? The Rodgers Jake Kumaro drama or the whole Michael Pratt timeline? For me, it was the Pratt one. I can't even begin to make sense of it all. The Pratt one was weird. there was clearly something. I don't have any reporting on this. I don't have any knowledge of this. I don't have any whisper of this. There's clearly something they just did not like about Michael Pratt. And I don't know what that was. Maybe it was just the play on the field. I don't know. But they gave on, like, they don't give up on draft picks almost ever. Like every once in a while, a seventh round picker, like Lou Nichols, will have injuries all throughout camp, and it just makes it so they have to move on from him or things like that. Like that happens from time to time, Grant Dubose, etc. But man, they never give up on draft picks. And they were just like, before, like even trying to get him back in the practice squad, they were just like, we're good. See you later. You go. And apparently he did well in Tampa there. Unfortunately, like he was set to expected to, kind of go and compete for one of those backup jobs in Tampa this year, had an injury all off season. They recently released him with a injury designation. And now he's a free agent again. But yeah, they did not, they fell out of love with Michael Pratt very, very quickly for whatever reason. I don't know what that is. I 100% know more than, or 100% know more than me, Andy. I'm willing to accept that. I'm just a junkie and I'm getting overexcited about a QB3. Hey, Beast Bumblebee, man, like do your thing. And like I said, I'm going to get stuff wrong from time to time. There's no perfect answers for a lot of this stuff. And El Gersma could go on to have a great career. They're like, that's within the realm of possibility. I just know right now he's very raw. Raw isn't bad, by the way. Raw is so much better than bad. Once you're bad, you're cut and you're gone and you're done. You don't have a future anymore. Right now, Taylor Algersma isn't bad. He's just raw. He's just completely and utterly raw. So you just got to season him up, put a little bit more time in the oven, and hope that you can figure something out in a way to utilize him down the road and that everything takes the way that it's supposed to. If not, he'll turn into bad. But he's not bad yet. He's just raw. And there's a big difference there. So I don't have anything against El Gersma from a talent standpoint or for what he could potentially be down the road. And again, I'm not saying he's bad. He's just incredibly, incredibly raw. Am I going to do some sort of stream on Cutdown Day recapping Packers moves and moves around the NFL? Also, when I asked, I'm not sure you said, when does the Pick'em League thing start? Haven't had the chance to put together the Pick'em League. In fact, I'm just going to write that down right now. I'll get that done soon. I'll probably try to put that together tomorrow. But I'll write a note for myself on that. Cutdown Day, unfortunately, I have an event going on in Milwaukee where I'm probably not going to be able to do anything live. But Ross Uglum will have you covered here on Pack-A-Day for a live show as soon as cutdowns are announced. So keep an eye out for that. Ross Uglum will be live on Cutdown Day, breaking everything down for you guys. And then, of course, I'll be back that night and we'll have the full episode for you guys on Wednesday morning, recapping everything. If on Monday or tomorrow, we all of a sudden, like Green Bay does it early, and we start getting a ton of moves and things like that, I could potentially go live either tomorrow or Monday. I don't necessarily expect that to happen. It wouldn't stun me if we got like 8 moves, like they just made their like obvious 8 moves right away. But outside of that, no, I unfortunately will be at an event Tuesday night and we'll probably be unable to do that. But that's why I already got Ross Uglum for you guys. And huge thank you to Ross for doing the pregame show today as well. So we make a play for a special teams ace. Oh, come on. We don't need that today. 87. Hard choices at running back. I actually don't think they are, Jane. I think this is actually pretty easy. My guess is Lloyd starts on IR designated to return. I think they'll be very cautious with him. I think it just ends up being Brooks, Wilson, and Jacobs. And then I think Amar Johnson is pretty much a lock for the practice squad. And if I had to guess, I think they'll try to get Abanaconda back on the practice squad as well. But that's to me where things are headed. 2 running backs in the PS, 3 on the active, Marshawn Lloyd, IR designated to return. Would I rather have Simmons or Welch? Simmons may be a better special teamer, but if one of them had to play defense, I feel like Welch isn't a liability like Simmons is at times. Yeah, no, I'm going in that case with Simmons. I just think that he is going to be your gunner, your primary gunner, and he's going to be one of the keys on kick coverage as well. I don't really want either in on defense, if I'm being honest. And I've got 4 linebackers ahead of those guys in a league that normally plays 2 linebackers, meaning I've got Tyron Hopper, Isaiah McDuffie, Quay Walker, Edgerrin Cooper. I've got 4 guys there. And the truth of the matter is, this might sound harsh. If I need a linebacker, I can find a Christian Welch at any point in time to play linebacker. So if I need to pick somebody up because of injuries, I can find somebody that is just as good as Christian Welch or Isaiah Simmons for that matter, and probably maybe play somebody else at linebacker in that spot. So this to me comes down to special teams. And I think Isaiah Simmons is some of the stuff that he does is just a little bit more unique. But I'll say it one more time. I do think there is a real possibility that both of them make the team as really truly special teams linebackers and have a huge impact on teams this year. I also love how Hopper is playing. Carla coming through again with 10 new Pack-A-Day podcast memberships. Love that. Thank you so much, Carla. That was Brant Banks, not Aaron Banks. So Brant Banks was playing the fourth quarter. He's a rookie, undrafted free agent offensive lineman, not Aaron Banks, who did not play in this game. So yeah, Brant Banks, I think, is what, number 60? Is he 70 something? I don't know. Doesn't matter. But the hell number is he? There he is, 72. Number 72 is Brant Banks. So that's where you're probably looking at. What was my favorite thing about preseason, Andy? That it's done. Like, sincerely, I'm just ready for the regular season. Preseason is garbage. My favorite thing is probably, or like, my most standout thing is probably my least favorite thing. And I still can't get over how people responded to that first preseason game. Like, legitimately stunning. Like, guys, we are so much, but we need to be so much better than that. None of this stuff remotely matters. We are not going to be going into week 1 against Detroit and be like, you remember what happened in that first preseason? It doesn't matter at all. So that was the most stunning to me, was the overreaction from week 1 preseason, where it's like, holy cow, guys, we need to calm down a little bit. Just like these two does not mean anything great is going to happen. Again, try not to ride that wave too much. It's, stay steady Eddie from time to time, especially when it comes to preseason. Please tell me we aren't going back to the 80s run pass punt times. No, we're not going to do that. No chance. I've seen enough Coxon and Egbari greater than Van Ness. Let's let the regular season decide that. I do think Isaiah Simmons makes the 53. Hopper's looked really good. Very, very pleased with him. I'll have to go back and watch that, Jim, on the penalty on Belton. I'll have to go and see what actually happened there. Hook me up, Carla. Carla, there's 590 people in chat that want membership. So you did 10. You've got about 580 to go. Simmons is great as a gunner. He gets down there so fast. Yeah, again, when you've seen two players be the starting gunners all throughout camp in Bo Melton and Isaiah Simmons, that's usually a pretty big tell that those two players are not going anywhere. So I'm going to say Simmons does make the team. It's not a lock. I'm not locking it in. No question about it. But I would say there's a very strong chance that Simmons makes the team. How much that occurred in the joint practice was visible in today's game? Again, almost none of it. There's so many layers to this, guys, where like there's unpadded practices, then padded practices, then a preseason game, and then like a regular season game, and then there's like a playoff game, and then a Super Bowl is like way on top. But like a regular season game is like night and day different from anything that actually happens in practice or anything that actually happens in a joint practice or a preseason game. It's just they're totally different animals altogether. So yeah, don't take anything too verbatim of what goes on in camp or preseason games. Everything that matters happens when the lights are actually on come regular season and playoffs. Coxon and Barre better than Parsons. Thoughts on how much we use starters in the preseason? Do you think we left some meat on the bone? My guess, Pokey, is that he wanted to use starters a lot more, and injuries just made it so that he couldn't. And I think overall he made the right decision. I didn't need to see the starters any more than I did based on the injuries that they had. If they had a very healthy preseason and like all of these guys that are hurt right now are pretty much all healthy, I'd have been like, yeah, I would have liked to seen the starters a little bit more. I don't think you can risk it with all the injuries that they already have. If all of a sudden you get a few more, it starts adding up way too much. Like, you got to go out and be able to beat Detroit, and you're going to need your best players in order to be able to do that. Beast bumbled me with the 5 Pack-A-Day memberships. Thank you so much for that. Mosby's definitely in the conversation. I think a lot of this has to do with Colin Oliver and Barron Sorrell. Does Oliver stay on PUP, which I think he will? Does Sorrell go on IR designated to return? That I'm less confident in. And then how do things break down from there? They could easily still keep 6, meaning Sorrell is the 5th, and then Mosby is the 6th. That's possible. If Sorrell and Oliver both can't go, I think Mosby is very much locked in as that number 5 defensive end in that spot then. Fred, thank you to you as well. Andy, they're totally different animals altogether. Chat, they're totally different animals. I guess. Fair enough. All right, guys. All right, one more from Pokey. The real question is, what are we going to do next week? We're going to get Luige's Pizzas. I'm assuming you're talking about with no football. We're just going to get ready, man. College football started today. We've got college football next weekend. That'll be a really fun weekend. And then Thursday night, we get that opener, Cowboys, Eagles. Friday night, Chiefs, Chargers. Saturday, another great day of college football. Sunday, after that, will, of course, be the Packers, Lions, and everything else that happens that day. And it's going to be off and running before you know it. So enjoy the hell out of it. Before you know it, just like training camp, preseason all went just like that. It's going to be draft season before you know it. So enjoy every step of the way. Carla coming through with 10 more Pack a Day podcast memberships. Carla, you are incredible. Thank you to all of you. The super chats, the memberships, also over 575 people right now in the chat. We hit over 600. We may have hit around 700 at one point, but overall, cannot thank you guys enough. It's been an unbelievable training camp and preseason. Should have a couple more practices coming up this week that I'll definitely be covering live and in person. Cut down day coming up Tuesday. Tomorrow, members only Q&A. So make sure you're checking out that. But I cannot thank you enough. Get a Luige's Frozen Pizza to celebrate. Check out our friends over at habush.com, habush.com. But until next time, and as always, go Pack Go.